I'm here today with one of my favorite people. Luc is someone I'm getting to help with his business to flourish and grow. And he's just such an incredible person. I wanted to share his story today on the podcast. Luc, how are you doing?
Hey, Karolina, I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. Okay, where do we start? So why don't you, Luc, why don't you tell us just real quick for anyone in the audience who hasn't heard of you, like just a real quick, like who are you? What are you doing? And then we'll kind of go backwards from there.
Right on. So first of all, thanks for having me, Karolina. And as you said, we are working together, and I'm so happy to be doing that. I really feel like you're pushing me and you're seeing things in me that I didn't see myself, and that's exactly what this is all about. So my name's Luc. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I've been sober for just over 6 years. I've gone through quite the transformation, obviously, during that time. But most recently, I'm just super excited and proud to be what I feel like I'm going towards, my greater purpose, or, something that's actually bringing me joy and fulfillment. And that's sharing my story, helping people, and pushing myself, getting, outside of my comfort zone has been the theme for the past year or so, I would say. So I'm very excited for what's to come. There's a lot of uncertainty in my life right now, but that makes me very excited. So I'm really happy to be sharing with you and your audience today.
Well, I love how you model what you preach, right? Because you help other people get outside their comfort zone too, as an incredible sober coach. So tell us a little, like, let's go back way before these 6 years. Tell us a little bit about your story before, what was going on then?
Yeah, so my story, or my journey with alcohol I was very much a social drinker. I never drank alone. I never craved alcohol. But where I struggled is that I had social anxiety. So when there would be gatherings or parties or social events, I felt that I needed to drink, a lot for me to be, sort of like confident and comfortable in my own skin. So I was very much a people pleaser. Like my entire life, I cared a lot about what other people thought of me. And, the different phases of my drinking, like I was young, or like in my early teens, was kind of like to fit in. Then in university was like, finding myself a little bit, and finding that I quickly created that identity of being, the fun the fun drunk person, like kind of like the life of the party image. That's what I had, very excited, high energy, like let's go. And let's have the best night possible. And then that's what it became my identity. And then when I finished school and I moved back home for about a year, and then I ended up getting my own place in Toronto, and that's when things kind of took a turn, in the sense that it was no longer just alcohol. I got introduced to drugs, cocaine, and that's when things kind of like accelerated for me, and got a little bit, became tough. So that's kind of like when things became, challenging, and things were, I was definitely on the wrong path, the wrong trajectory. And that's what I knew, that I kind of slowly had a problem. And that's when I was like, okay, like, what am I going to do about it? I'm half Italian, half French Canadian. So like, I grew up in a culture, a family that's like very social, that we drank a lot, socially. My parents had a lot of company, a lot of friends, and there's a lot of drinking. So I knew that, that's kind of like how I was raised, in a sense. So I was really, I'd never wanted to be sober ever in my life. I was like, you know what, maybe I should get some help and try to moderate my drinking a bit, or like figure out maybe why I'm drinking so much, and like tone it down. So I did that for a few years in therapy, and it did work a little bit, but then it wouldn't work. It was just so inconsistent. I never knew like what version of myself I would get. And then once I was kind of like trying different things, sobriety came up, and I was like, you know what, let's see what this is all about. Give it a try. I was terrified, didn't want to do it, but here I am, 6 years later. It's been the best thing I've ever done for myself, 100%.
Yeah. Wow. So I am so curious, like, oftentimes when we think very stereotypically about like what heavy alcohol use and drug use looks like, we see a very like sad image of it, I think, in our society. But like, what was your life like on the outside? Like, you were a runner, you're excelling in your career. Like, tell me about that part.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part. That is the interesting part, because yeah, from the outside, I was always in shape. I always worked out. From the outside, I looked like, I wasn't struggling, let's say. I had a lot of friends. I had, girlfriends most of the time. I had a great career. I worked in a global tech company for a long time. I worked in real estate. So I was kind of like hustling, working hard, making a lot of money, working long hours, of 70 hours, no problem in a week. And I, had a couple properties in Toronto, and I just feeling really good. And that's where it's like that, I felt like I was giving myself a pass. Like I worked so hard that I was allowed to get really messed up on the weekends because I work so hard. So this is how I unwind. I get really messed up. I party hard. I work hard and I party hard. Work hard, play hard. That was my mentality for so long. So I kept giving myself a pass. Like, hey, Luke, this is normal to go to work on Monday morning, not 100%, like, hungover and just not feeling your best. That's normal. I plowed through the week. Like I rarely drank during the week, like rarely ever, unless there was like a big event, something with work or something going on, like on a Thursday or something. But I never drank during the week. So I was like, hey, I have this under control. I'm not a daily drinker. I'm not drinking every day. I don't depend on alcohol. I don't crave alcohol at all. But once I get started, then I found it was sometimes tricky to stop. But that's the thing. And that's what makes me so excited about sharing my stories, that we've all heard these incredible stories of resilience where people have been through literally hell and back, right? Like in the hospital, lost everything, lost their family, lost their job, lost so many things. And they're able to like turn it around, get back and start rebuilding. And I just have so much respect for those people because I think that those stories are so powerful and it's just so incredible to see. But I don't necessarily relate to that because I never hit that, that obvious rock bottom, or that obvious, like, holy smokes, Luke, like your life is in shambles. Yeah, I wasn't perfect. Yeah, I struggled a lot, but like I was easy to justify it in my mind. And that was the trickiest part, was knowing, okay, like things aren't perfect, but I was just like tired of feeling like shit. I was tired of, being hungover, tired of being inconsistent, tired of arguing with my wife about my drinking, just, not showing up for people, not showing up for myself, disappointing myself. Like I just became tired of that. And what I look at my journey now, like what I'm going through now, it's not so much like hey, I'm sober, like, because I still think there's such a stereotype there. And I know we're working on breaking that, but it's like, it's so much more than being sober. So much more than that. That's like the easy part, right, Karolina? We've talked about this before. Being sober is the easy part. It's like step one. But then, okay, like you're not going to use for a bit. Like, what are you doing? And this is really more about, honestly, like self-discovery, like finding out more about yourself, because we're on autopilot for so many years, like for decades, when it was like, hey, good time, drink, celebration, drink, to bad day, drink, all those things. So it's like felt like I was on autopilot. That's what I just automatically defaulted to, was drinking. Remove the alcohol, remove the drugs. You're kind of like getting to know yourself a bit and finding out what you actually like to do. What are your passions? What are you excited about? And like, we talk about this a lot too, Karolina, in our sessions. It's like the greater purpose. Like, what are you after? Like, what brings you joy? Like, what do you want your legacy to be? Like these types of things, I never thought about when I was just going through the basics and going through the routine of my day to day. And I feel like I'm preaching a bit here, but I'm very passionate about this stuff, as you can see.
Yeah, I mean, it's life-changing. It's such an incredible gift. And, going back a little bit, I almost have a theory that like as children, like people who are high achievers or maybe just feel a little different from their peers as they're growing up. So maybe like you do better in school, or, things come easier to you. Like maybe you feel like you understand concepts better, you're more intelligent. Like it doesn't matter how it actually manifests, but like you might just feel different like when you're younger. And I almost feel like this like work hard, and I want like to achieve a lot, I want to be a lot in my lifetime. Like it's almost like society doesn't completely hold space for that. So it's like, oh, we need to dim this a little bit, right? And then obviously the socialization of alcohol and drugs come in, especially like in times like college. And it's like, oh, this is how I balance this out. This is how
Right.
I'm like both like doing the things that bring me like legacy and impact, but here's how I also can hang and I'm cool on the weekends or
Mm,
whatnot. You know what I mean? And I think like there's just such a bright light inside us that's just like is just misdirected in that way. You know what I mean?
mm,
And all I've seen from you now as this incredible alcohol-free individual is like you've directed that bright light now into something that literally gives you so much, like we said, purpose, meaning, and legacy. It's such a natural quality of yours. And I just see that in so many people who decide to ditch alcohol. Like it's just a way we were dimming our light because like we were too bright for society. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, I that's actually really interesting that you're saying it like that. I never quite thought about it like that, but I'm definitely, resonating with that. I mean, I wouldn't say I was necessarily the super bright kid who learned really fast and all things came easy, but I get what you're saying. It's like it's a way for us to kind of give ourselves a pass for all the progress and all the work we're doing, and it's like a relief. It's like, okay, I'm doing all these great things, but we'll slow down. Like let's smell the roses, and by smell the roses, society means let's get really messed up, let's drink, let's feel like crap, let's be hungover the next day. That's how we quote unquote smell the roses and enjoy life. But honestly, if you think about that, that's not enjoying life at all. There's no downtime there, right? Yeah, you may feel good in the moment, those few hours that you're celebrating or partying, but then like the party ends, the next day comes. And even if you're not a big drinker or you use drugs, let's be honest, waking up even with a few drinks, I feel like as we get older, like you're not functioning at the same caliber as if you weren't drinking the night before. Like that's just a fact, right? So I absolutely love that. I resonate with what you said.
Yeah. So tell me, Luke, what happened in the 6 years, when you decided to ditch alcohol and kind of grow into the version of yourself that you are today? Like what improved, what changed? What did you find about yourself?
So it was honestly a really, really difficult journey. Like I really struggled a lot. So really, man, just high level about my story is that I was sober for 5 years on my own. By that, I mean, I didn't do any group therapy. I didn't do any individual therapy. I literally did it on my own, right? When I first started, a psychologist or a therapist I was working with, he put me on the path of sobriety, which I never even considered. So once I was on the path, he originally put me into group therapy. So I did 2 sessions of group therapy. I kind of saw what I had to see. It was a pretty intensive group with people that were struggling with drugs, and I saw what I had to see. I stopped my therapy because again, I felt like I could do it on my own. Being a male with a bit of an ego, I was like, hey, I can do this. So I struggled a lot. Like I was sober for 5 years, which is an incredible, like such a long time, but like I didn't really, put the work in per se. I just focused on not using and not drinking. And I just really I didn't really grow and develop much. I was just kind of like, I felt sorry for myself. I still carried shame. Like I looked at my sobriety as a weakness. Like, Luke, you're sober because you're weak. You can't handle your booze. And that's not cool. That's not cool. So I wasn't vibrant. I wasn't high energy. Like I wasn't really a fun person to be around for the most part. And it wasn't until, like, weird enough, it's funny how things work sometimes, but when I hit, the milestone anniversary of my sobriety, when I hit 5 years, I started like thinking like, Luke, be freaking proud of yourself for a second. Like that's an incredible amount of time. Like be proud of that. And also I had picked up this thing, this passion or this thing in my sobriety at 2.5 years. It was like running, like long distance running. I hated running growing up in school and all that. And I hated it, but I got introduced to it through a good friend about 2.5 years sober. And it just gave me so much purpose. Like I just loved, the habit of waking up early, going for a run, and just, being bad at it at first and slowly getting better and better and better as I got into it. But so it was around the 5 year mark. So when I hit 5 years, it was around the time that I qualified for this big race, the Boston Marathon. And I was like, Luke, you just qualified for the Boston Marathon. You're 5 years sober. Like, be proud of yourself. Like, be proud. So that's where like I kind of made a mindset shift a little bit. I started talking and sharing about my story, and that gave me a ton of empowerment. I felt incredibly liberated. just the weight off my shoulders, because like I kept it a secret. I was in the sober closet. Nobody knew that I was sober, like other than my close family and close friends. Like I never talked about colleagues. Nobody knew. I hid it. And then once I started sharing, being open, connecting with other people, and just having like this identity shift where I was like no longer identifying as this retired party guy, party boy who's just like, is embarrassed about being sober. I now was like proud to be sober. I identify as being this vibrant, exciting, happy, sober guy who's just big on life. And I'm just really, I'm really happy that I put it in the work and I failed the way I did. And that's why I'm so excited to be sharing and talking about my story, because I want to show to other people that you don't need to hit an anniversary, a sober anniversary. You don't have to be X amount of days sober to feel good about yourself. You can make that shift in your mind like right away. And yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's going to get, it's going to get hard before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Like when you first start, that's just the way it is, unfortunately, but there is a path there. And it's just the best thing once you have those breakthrough moments. And I've hit my breakthrough, and I just can't wait to see what I'm going to do here.
Wow. I mean, what a, indictment of how powerful that mindset is, right? Like of just sometimes the behavior or the environment change isn't really enough to produce like what I call the euphoria of being alcohol free. It really is, everything's governed by that mind. If we think something is unpleasant, has low status, it's embarrassing, it causes us shame, then that's the way like we're going to feel and perceive it. And if we switch our mindsets into thinking, this actually makes me very cool, this makes me accomplished, this like makes me a present father and a great runner and all this incredible stuff, like we feel so much happier about it. And I feel like I think that's such a cool thing that you went through, because like you can now prevent people, like you say, from ever experiencing those lows and those like pity moments of like, oh, I can't drink anymore. It's like, yeah, the craziest movers and shakers of our society don't drink, right? Like it's like we're lucky to not have to drink anymore. You know what I mean? And I completely can see it too. Like sometimes I'll meet someone who's alcohol free or sober for quite a bit of time, and like they never really reached that point of changing their mindset. And it's like, oh no, it wasn't just about not putting the alcohol to your lips. You needed to change the mindset. Like that's the
Yep.
point, right? So I'm so glad you can teach that today.
Mindset is everything, Karolina. And I know we talk so much about this, so much about this. It's like, the quote from, I think it's Henry Ford. He says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that to me, is just such a nice little reminder that everything is in our minds. Everything is our perception, is our way we're processing things, and our self-talk and our mindset. And it's such a powerful tool that we need to be super intentional with our thoughts, and like catch our thoughts, and work on being more mindful, taking a pause, reflecting. And that's where it's like coaching is the greatest gift, in my opinion, Karolina. I know we haven't been working together that long, and I'm now this, alcohol-free life coach as well. But like, that's where coaching comes in, because we're so in our own heads all the time. We are always in the weeds of our lives, and we're just, we're feeling the emotions, and there's so much attached to everything we're doing. A coach comes in with a totally different vantage point, not so tied emotionally to everything going on, has that different perspective, and can help guide you and shape you, and just push you, and hold you accountable, bring things in your mind that maybe you never thought of. And in my opinion, like that's life's greatest secret. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody. I don't care who you are, how successful you are, how good you are. You need somebody who's there to kind of see things that you don't see. And that's where it's like athletes, professional athletes. You think of all LeBron James, Wayne Gretzky, they all have coaches. Do they mean they're better at the sport than they are? No, they see things from a different point of view, different vantage point, and they can help them. When I got a running coach, okay, in 2020, that completely transformed my running, because instead of being so focused on what am I going to run today? How am I going to focus? What am I going to do? All this, somebody was there to say, hey, Luke, here's the plan. follow the steps. I'll use your feedback. I'm not just going to create a cookie cutter approach. It's very customized to you, what works well for you, what you're good at, what are your strengths, what can we do? But I like to not think about what I'm doing when I go do a run. I want to go execute my run because I have about a billion other things on my mind. And it's nice to do this activity where I don't need to think. So that's what I view about my running. And then when I'm meeting with you, Karolina, we're talking, and not only are you seeing things inside of me that I don't see, but you're giving me that confidence and that direction to just, hey, Luke, go for it. Like, go for it. And I'm like, after every call, I'm like, yes, yes. And I get so pumped. And guess what? I'm starting to do things that I never imagined that I would do, that give my palms get sweaty and I'm nervous. But guess what? When I start building slowly and slowly and I'm getting more and more confidence, I just feel like there's nothing I can't do. I honestly think there's nothing I can't do. I qualified for the Boston Marathon. I can do anything. And it's not because I'm a freak athlete. It's not because I'm just special gifted person. No, because I know the effort of hard work, the effort of consistency, of mindfulness, of showing up. That's what it is. You need to show up. Sobriety, anything related, there's no shortcuts. You need to show up and put the work in and chip away at it. And then at the end of a few years, you would look back, you'd be like, holy shit, look at what I've done. And I'm just getting started.
Ooh, Luke, you give me such goosebumps. That's so incredible. Oh my gosh. I completely agree with you. And like, as a coach myself, like I get filled up too. I just had sessions with my coach yesterday. I felt on fire afterwards, right? I felt like something I was seeing as a challenge or a problem or something that was just hard or complicated, it completely changed my mindset about it. And now it feels easier and more empowering and part of my purpose, and that's what's so incredible about being a coach with the coach. And I remember the very first coach I had, I was just in the very baby stages of like trying to grow my website, my platform, like just the very start of my business. And I almost thought I was crazy. Like, who the hell am I to do this? I don't know what I'm doing, right? Who's going to hire me? Who's going to like believe in like that I am actually qualified to do? Like, I was so insecure about all of it. And, she saw something in me so powerful, like not only who are you not to, but like, Karolina, you are going to be one of the leaders of this. You are going to be a superstar. And
Yeah.
I'm like this little baby, like in the sense, right? In that sense of just like, maybe it's true what she's saying, and it just gave me such a boost. And I like in the moment when I was actually working with her, I couldn't tell you like, oh my gosh, she's changing my life. Everything's different now. Like it's hard to say, but I look now back in hindsight and I can see how pivotal that was, that work I did together on my personal growth. It's incredible. It really is. And I obviously completely echo that. It's just such an incredible gift for anyone to get into. And, especially if you want more in your life, if you want to do things that are hard, it's all hard because it's mentally hard. Like the stuff we're doing isn't actually that hard. You learn something, you put it on the internet, you have a conversation, you write something, you talk. Like it's not necessarily like astrophysics, right? But it's mentally terrifying. And I think that's why so many people don't take action on their dreams, because the mental games just get in the way.
And I found myself too being so I'm held back by fear. Held back by fear. I've always been held back by fear, actually, my whole life, if I think about it. But the other thing too that you mentioned was that there's just so much unknown, right? We're scared of the unknown. It's like, we don't know. It's like, you're thinking about getting sober, right? It's like, hey, okay, I'm going to try to be sober. It's like, oh my God, am I going to lose myself? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to have, because we've been drinking or doing something for so long that you're just terrified of what it looks like. Same thing. It's like you're starting a business or you're trying something different. It's like, oh my God, this is so new. I have no idea what I'm doing. Am I going to fail? Am I going to be, I have no clue. But that's why it's like when you partner with somebody who's kind of done the walk with you, that's been there, that's doing it, it makes you feel, safer. Like it makes you feel like you're not doing this on your own, and you have that support of somebody that like understands what you're going through and can, give you support, encouragement when you need it, and direction and a kick in the ass too, when you need it too. It's like, it's just such a beautiful thing that again, I'll say it again, everybody needs a coach. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what your goals are. I mean, if you're goal oriented, you need a coach. If you just want to go through life and just go through the basics and be average, and you're not scared of mediocrity and you just want to just fit in, yeah, maybe you don't need a coach. You can just continue doing what you want to do, and all the power to you. But if you want to be like, you want to make a name for yourself, you want to go for it, you want to have big goals, you want to feel fulfilled, you need a coach, because that person is going to be your champion. It's going to help you.
Yeah. And you know what I think is coming up for me right now too, Luke, is that like a lot of times our family or friends or acquaintances, like our colleagues, maybe at work, they don't get it. So for so long, we think our support system is the people that we're friends with and our family and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of unfortunate, but in a way, because they're not on the same journey as you, they won't ever get it. You know what I mean? Whether it's going alcohol free or launching a business, like, and all of a sudden you're like, I really am alone in this. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing and nobody else knows. Right. My friend from high school has no idea. Right. So like, this is also too, where that support system of like people who see your dreams and really hold space for them and then help you through them is so important, because we're not going to be getting that from kind of our local network. I mean, maybe possibly, right, but it's very rare. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we get dismissed actually from that.
Yeah.
Like people really just don't get it. So it's also just so important to have those people who get it.
Totally. And it's not, it's not really their job to, like, I'm thinking of my wife and close friends. It's not their job to understand, it's like they want to understand, but it's not their job. And actually, I just had a session yesterday with a client, very high achiever, Los Angeles entrepreneur, like the works, right? Like just like this amazing person. And we had one of our first sessions. It was actually our second call. And she was like broke down. And she's like, Luke, I've done the therapy thing, but I just feel so safe and connected with you because you understand, you've been through it. And she's like, I felt like I was holding back in my other sessions with other people because I didn't feel that I could be open. I didn't feel the trust. I didn't feel like, general connection, understanding. And that's the beauty thing of having lived experience and having walked the walk, is that, there's no judgment. It's like, I'm not judging you. You're not judging me. We're like, let's figure this out together. Let's figure this out together. And it's just having that champion that believes in you and sees things inside of you that you don't necessarily see in yourself. That's a very powerful thing. And it's just, it gives me goosebumps, honestly, to be a part of someone's journey like that. And for you, Karolina, what you've done for me, and I know we're just getting started, like it's just, it feels really, really good. And I've never had more fulfillment in what I'm doing and just being proud of who I am. Yeah, my life's not perfect, like far from perfect, right? Like my wife and I, we still argue. I still have my insecurities. I still have my doubts, but guess what? I'm better than I was, call it yesterday and the day before. And that's all we're doing. It's so easy to compare to other people. I totally get that, especially the world of social media. You open your phone, your mind instantly goes to, how am I doing versus this person? But you know what? Like, take a pause for a second and just look at, in the mirror and to think, am I better than I was yesterday? Am I getting better? Am I growing? Am I learning? Am I pushing myself? If you can answer yes to those questions, you are on that path and you are just getting started.
Luke, so powerful. One last question for you, and then we'll let you go. So, right now we're launching our Empowered AF Coach certification program to help other people become coaches themselves. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, how does it feel to help someone see the things that they don't see about themselves, the incredible brilliance and brightness and just incredible gifts that they have? Like, how does it feel to truly make such an intimate impact in someone's life?
I can't even describe it. It's the greatest feeling in the entire world. It's the greatest feeling to know that you're a part of someone's journey where you're actually making a difference and making an impact. There's nothing better. And look, this is coming from somebody who worked in tech sales for, almost 2 decades, where I've done pretty well for myself. Just kind of going with the motions of, this is what I did. I showed up but I feel like this is living. This is living. You're making an impact, you're growing, you're learning. I'm learning myself too, right? I don't have all the answers, and it's just an amazing place to be. And I hope that I can do this for a very, very long time. I really do. I have a lot of work to do, I have a lot of big goals, but you know what? I'm very happy. And anyone who's listening, who's, maybe thinking about, what can they do? What brings them joy? Because I really believe if you are really passionate about something and it's, let's say it's your purpose, it's your calling, you feel it. Like I feel when I'm doing these types of talks or working with my clients, like I generally feel like this is what I'm meant to do. If you have any of that with something, you owe it to yourself to go for it. The biggest thing in life is this thing called regret. When you have regret and you look back on your life in 10, 15, 20 years, you say, gosh, what if I just went for it? What if I just put 110% into something? Like if you're putting 25, 50% of something, you're not doing yourself justice. So just go for it. That's what I'm doing. This is my theme, Karolina, as you know, is like, I'm just going for it. Worst case scenario, things don't work out. You always have, and I'm sure we can all figure it out. We're all very smart and we'll all figure it out, but we'll never know unless we just put both feet in and we just go for it.
Oh, I could talk to you forever. That keeps me going every single day. It's like, yeah, this is scary. Like I'm still scared today with the things I'm doing in my business and my career and my life. And yet that fear of regret of knowing I didn't try hard enough or I just didn't go for it, or like, what if I could have, like that freaks me out so much more, so much more. Well, Luc, it's been such an incredible time talking to you. I'm so curious, where can people find you, follow you, work with you? Tell us where you are on the
Yeah.
internet.
So I'm mostly on Instagram at marathon to sobriety, like the number 2, marathon to sobriety. But if your viewers go on my website, marathon to sobriety.ca, I put together a free guide on how to be the life of the party sober, because that was my thing, right? Like how to be in social situations. I feel like I've actually mastered that sober. I'm not scared of social situations. I love it. I love going to weddings. I love going to parties. I honestly feel like I bring more energy than I did when I was drinking, and I have no regret, no shame, and I'm not people pleasing. I just feel very confident, very secure, and it's just the best feeling. So I'd love to share that with your listeners today. So if you go marathon to sobriety.ca, go to my newsletter, sign up, you'll get that email to you. I think it's like a 12, 13 page PDF on how to rock a party sober. It's not just a party. It's more like the lifestyle, how to be that vibrant person in this alcohol crazy world.
Well, we'll definitely include all that in the show notes. Thank you for your generosity. And, anyone listening, if you're inspired by Luc's energy, he is an incredible coach. If you want him to just pour into you and see the things that you might not be able to see about yourself, I highly recommend him. So check him out. Check out his Instagram as well. We'll put that all in the show notes. And Luc, thank you so much for your time today.
Karolina, thank you, not just for today, honestly, for what you're doing for me and what you've done for me. I really, really appreciate it. Big time.